Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is 4 Paws in a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. Today I have a very large book haul for you. Like to be able to blame this on my birthday, and I really have. I mean, part of this was gifts, part of this was gift cards, but this is excessive. I have 44 books to talk to you about today that I am hauling this month. We're gonna change some things up next month. Not doing a book buying ban, but I'll talk about it at the end. I will talk about what I'm doing. Let's start off by talking about how I did in the month of August. I did have a pretty big project where I wanted to read 33 books. Didn't quite get there, but I got really close. And we'll figure out what our starting number is. So I did catalog everything in Goodreads. So we actually have an official number of 254 to start with. That number might be different from the number that I had on my last book haul. Honestly, I didn't go back and check. But this is the official cataloged Goodreads number. I made a shelf for my physical TBR. So we're at 254. I unhauled 3 books from there without reading them. So that's going to bring us down to 251. Then we're taking all of these books off of my TBR because I read them, okay? So 14 books. So our starting number is 237. That's still a very high number, and I should probably work on getting that down. But we're not. We're going to go in the opposite direction today. Love that for me. Okay. I have these broken up into a few different categories. We're going to start with the books that I have already read. Either I purchased books that I had already read, but I had read an e-copy of them, or they were books that I also read this month. Then I have a stack here of books that I'm going to be doing for projects. One of the things that I've really been trying to do this year on my channel is do like specific themed vlogs or themed videos where I have a certain group of books that I read and go from there, right? Because of that, I am having to buy books for those projects. So that being said, they are on my immediate TBR. There will be books that I will be reading like either this month or next month, at least, in the coming future. And then I have a stack of books that were either gifts or I just bought. Barnes & Noble was doing their 50% off hardcover sale. I found some used books, like a lot of used books for sale. Pango, obviously, always a thing. So, 237, that's our starting number. These books are not going to add to it because I've already read them. First 2 volumes of Lore Olympus, Volume 1, Volume 2. These are graphic novels. They are Hades and Persephone Greek myth retellings. I really like these. I gave them both 4.5 stars. The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. I've read this one. I actually own the US cover of it, but I really like the UK cover of it. It just looks really cool, and I found it on Pango, so I decided to snatch it up. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This was a birthday present, so thank you very much. And I read this as an e-copy from the publisher, as an ARC, and I really, really enjoyed it, so I wanted a physical copy of it. Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna McGuire. This is the newest book in the Wayward Children series, and this was part of that lot of books that I found for really cheap. This was the only one they had, though, so I'm gonna have to slowly collect these. They're quite expensive if you buy them new, and so I usually just either listen to them on audio or get them as an ebook, because my library has them on ebooks. So I don't have any of these physically, so I'm just gonna slowly try to find them when I can. The Bright Swipe by Alicia Rye. I've read this entire trilogy and I really enjoyed it. And this is the only one that I didn't have physically. It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is the first book in the Bellingers series. This was a gift from Michelle. Thank you very much. And I really enjoyed this. This and Hook, Line, and Sinker are definitely my favorite Tessa Bailey books that I've read. I really like this series. Small town, grumpy sunshine romance kind of thing. Yeah. Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. I'm now only missing the 3rd and 4th book in this series. I have already read this one. Like I said, I've read this entire series, and again, this is one of those ones that they're really expensive if you buy them at Barnes & Noble, so I've just been trying to find them on Pango when I can. But I'm just missing Is it book 3 and 4? Yeah, A Worthy Opponent and The Beast. Those are the only 2 that I'm missing now. By Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I read this one for Rom-Comathon. Didn't really love it. The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, adult romance about a couple. They're not a couple, but they are 2 authors that have to, like, they're estranged and they have to come back to write another book. And then there's tension, obviously. It's kind of a, like, play on a forced proximity romance. And Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan. I also read this one for Rom-Comathon. I've talked about this one quite a bit, but I really enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars. And lastly, of the books that I have read, we have The Measure by Nikki Erlich. This one I gave 5 stars. This one might make my best books of the year. I really, really enjoyed this one. From here on out, we start counting. Love that. Love that. Okay, let's start with the books that I do have for projects. The first one is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I was supposed to read this one in August, and it's chunky, and there's no audiobook, so I didn't get to it. It was not conducive to trying to read 30 books when one of them looks like this. Mariana Zapata is very well known for her slow burn romances. This one is no exception, hence the very big book. This one has an outdoorsy kind of like hiking, nature type feel to it. I really wanted to read it at the end of the summer. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm not sure when I will, but we're going to try really hard. This is The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. This was another one of those like used book lot that I found. This is about a woman who is a like lifestyle blogger, and like and she's plus size, and then the CEO of this fitness app, and I think she like writes a scathing review about his app or something like that, and then there's maybe a hate to love romance. We don't know. All right, book number 240 is Hell Followed With Us. This was a birthday gift from Rye. This cover is just so cool. This was recommended to me actually by Cal from Retrieving Books. This is about a trans main character, and he is trying to escape the fundamentalist cult that he is in. Something about like releasing Armageddon. I don't know. Decimating the world's population. Desperately, he searches for a place where the cult can't get their hands on him, or more importantly, on the bioweapon that infected him. So, seems interesting. Cal was talking about it on a sprint, I think. Ended up giving it 5 stars, and I immediately put it on my wish list. I have Jade City by Fonda Lee. I'm actually reading this one this month. I think I'm buddy reading it with Rye, because this made it on her Bookathon TBR. I think didn't make it on my TBR, but I need it for a project, so we're reading it. This is the start of a trilogy. I think it's an urban fantasy, and this like magical jade enhances certain people's ability. Don't know anything about it, but everyone's been talking about it lately, so here we are. Then we have In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power. I did talk about this one on my Did I Read My Most Anticipated Releases. I did not read this one, so here we are. This is the start of a high fantasy duology, I believe, or a series. This one I'm really hesitant to go into because I've heard some mixed reviews, and also Rory Power is known for writing horror, not epic high fantasy, so we'll see what happens. I have a lot of fantasy on this TBR or this haul, and it scares me a lot, but here we are. Well, this one's kind of a sci-fi fantasy. We have The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport. Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany talked about this one. Mel from Eleanor Reads read this. Becca from Beck in the Books. They've all read it. They've all really loved it. And I think it's been equated to Red Rising a little bit. And I believe this is the start of a duology as well. Okay, and then lastly, for the books that I have projects for, we have Malice by John Gwynne, another massive, chunky fantasy. This is on my August TBR, so I will be reading it. I think this is a military fantasy, political fantasy. We don't really know. We have no idea. But it just says the world is broken. So we're going to go into it blind. Okay, so that puts us at 244. I'm going to do this by genre at this point. And then Book of the Month is in here somewhere, so we'll talk about that too. Let's start with contemporary romances. We have Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. This was talked about a lot during Rom-Comathon, and I thought about reading it during then, but I just couldn't get to it in time. So I would like to read it as soon as possible. This is about a woman who was on a show like The Bachelor, and then a professional football, or a former football player, who bakes cupcakes, and there's a fake dating relationship between those two. Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall. Again, a baking competition. I'm liking my food romances, apparently. Either that or that's just a trend in contemporary romance right now. But this is about a woman who is on kind of like the Great British Bake Off kind of thing. And she is bisexual. I'm not 100% sure about the plot of this book, but I hear people recommend it to me all the time. So we finally got it. Okay, number 247 is Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. This was a birthday present as well, and it is like a then and now, like a 10-year gap, where a writer has to interview the newest James Bond, and then 10 years later they're coming back for a second interview after like paparazzi kind of like blew up their interview thinking that they were dating or something. I don't know. Seems like it might be entertaining and funny. I saw this all over Instagram and then put it on my wish list. I did get a nonfiction, and that is How to Be an Anti-Racist. This is a book that is really expensive, that I've like whenever I tried to find it like in public, and so I found it on Pango Books for like $5, and so I picked it up. I've been wanting to read it for years. A lot of people really started hyping it up in the summer of 2020, and I just never got to it, and so when I found it on Pango, picked it up. Okay, moving on to sci-fi. I think I got my numbers wrong, but this is number 249. It's The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. This is about clones and a man who cloned his wife and then is having an affair with this clone, which seems weird, but Michelle was talking about it, and I found it on the BOGO table. So it's short. I have read a couple of things from Sarah Gailey. Have I read a couple or just one? But she has some really interesting ideas. So and then I found The Memory Librarian and Other Stories of Dirty Computer, and this is like the trials of AI and how they're going to destroy the world. There is a prompt on Our Fantasy about like reading an anthology or short stories or something like that, and I think this one might work for that. This isn't an anthology, it's only one author, so I can't remember if the prompt is actually an anthology or just a group of short stories. But yeah, this was on that 50% off sale, and I actually didn't pick it up the first time, and then it was still like just staring at me, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pick it up the second time I went in. Okay, that's 250. 251 is Just Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. I've heard a lot of people talk about this one. It came out a couple of years ago, I think. I want to say it was fall of 2020. It's a sci-fi standalone about a team who is going to this uncolonized planet, and they find this like alien relic. Okay, we're going to do the thrillers, and then we'll do fantasy last, because that's the biggest stack. We have Stay Awake by Megan Golden. This is on my August TBR, so I will be taking this one off of the TBR very, very quickly. But this is a thriller about a woman who wakes up in the back of a taxi cab. Someone else is living at her house, and she has this writing on her hands that says stay awake. So we're going to have unreliable narrator. It's going to be creepy. I'm here for it. I have The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I have not been a huge fan of Simone St. James in the past, but I have been told that I will like this one. It has more of a historical aspect to it, and like maybe a haunted house. I don't know. I've heard good things about it, so we'll see. We're going to give her one more shot. Okay, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. And then I also picked up The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This one everyone was talking about last year. It kind of has a dark academia vibe to it. I guess I probably could have put this one in my projects because I'm going to try to do a video on dark academia. So we might read that one for this. I just haven't picked out my TBR for that because I have a lot. And I won't be able to read them all for that video. Okay, and then The Last Housewife is the book that just came out. This has about like cults and things like that. And apparently it's really messed up. Lexi was talking about it and Michelle, and I don't know, I had to pick it up. The Last House on Needless Street by Katarina Ward. We were on Sprints a couple of weeks ago, and then all decided, like collectively, that we were going to read this as a group, maybe in October, because it's like very spooky and like a haunted house, I guess. This cover is stunning. I really, really like that. So this one will come off the TBR pretty quickly as well. And then another couple like horror-y books that actually both have a historical aspect to it. Interesting. The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This was Rye's favorite book of last year, I think. And then The Deep by Alma Katsu. This is a like horror story about the Titanic. And I want to say ghost or like some sort of haunting on the Titanic. And I absolutely loved the Titanic when I was a kid. So I'm here for that. Okay, so 258. We are past where we started today. So love that. I have a Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is the first of 2 copies that is coming to me. I got a special edition copy as well. I've started reading this one, but I have not finished it yet. It's very dense, and I'm struggling a little bit with it. Not in the book. Like, I'm really enjoying being in the book, but I am too dumb for it. Okay, number 260 is Spear by Nicola Griffith. This is another one that I found on the 50% off table at Barnes & Noble. I don't like buying full price novellas, so I found it when it was 50% off. This is a Sapphic Arthurian retelling, and that's all I know about it. Okay, 261 is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. A lot of people have been talking about this one, and then Kaylee from the Dog Eared page on Instagram said that she just recently read it, absolutely loved it, and she doesn't read as much fantasy anymore, but she loves the Daevabad trilogy. So I was like, okay, well, we have similar views here, so I'm hoping that I will love this one. We'll see. Okay, Blood of the Chosen by Django Wexler. This is the second book to Ashes of the Sun, which I have been told is gay fantasy Star Wars, which I'm here for, and I'm probably just going to binge this. Ashes of the Sun is on my September TBR, and I would love to be able to read this one as well. Another present from Cassidy was The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I think this is just her telling me that I need to read more dragon books. Maybe. This is another military fantasy. It says that when the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now, as whispers of war echo above the fjords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of 3 warriors, a huntress on a perilous quest, a noblewoman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. It's really funny because when I opened this one up, Derek immediately was like, oh, I want to read this. So he might read it before I do, but we'll see. In that used book sale, I found book 3 and book 4 of the Ruin of Kings series. We have The Memory of Souls and The House of Always by Jen Lyons. These were $5, which is why I picked them up, because obviously if I was buying them new, they are $21. So no, I have not read any in this series, but yes, I own the 4 that are out in paperback. It's fine. 266 is Age of Ash by Daniel Abram. This is one of the authors of the Expanse series, and this is the start of a new fantasy trilogy, I think. Yep. And it's a political fantasy. I don't know much about it, but it was on the 50% off sale, so here we are. It's a political fantasy. It takes place in this like very bustling city, and all is not as it seems. The cover is stunning, so here for it. Okay. Those are the fantasy books. And then I just have 3 book of the months, and then we'll be done. So I picked up When We Were Bright and Beautiful by Julian Mendoff. This was also one of the books I think that I have on my Libro FM ALC. So I'll have an audiobook of it as well. This is definitely going to be a book about rich people problems, but there's also some like courtroom drama, some legal drama, stuff like that. So this is just going to be kind of one of those like soapy type books. Okay, then we have Small Angels by Lauren Owen. This feels very witchy, very gothic. It kind of relies on some fairy tale-esque like lore. In a hypnotic tale of sisterhood, first love, and hauntings, a wedding in a small English village stirs up unsettling magic and forces a troubled family's secrets out into the open. And then lastly, we have Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. A lot of people have been talking about this one because Jar of Hearts was so popular, and this is her new book, and this is about a woman who is arrested in her home after her husband is murdered, and she's covered in his blood, and I think holding the knife, holding the razor, yep, that'll do it. So this one again sounds real spooky. There's a lot of like thriller readathons coming up in September, October, or November even, where we'll be able to read lots of like horror thriller books. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so my final number is 269 books. Could have been a lot worse, honestly. Could have been way worse. In September, we're going to be doing some things drastically different. First off, I need to stop buying books. I need to stop going into bookstores. So for the month of September, I'm going to be basically setting a limit on how much money I can spend on books, and when I'm done, right? It obviously won't count for like pre-orders and things like that I've already paid for. But that's all we're doing. More on that next month, but my haul will look very different next month. Much smaller, more vlog style. So stay tuned for that. That is all I have for you today. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And if you'd like to hang out with me more, I do have my very own Patreon where we have a Discord channel and other exclusive perks. My links to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram are also down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.